world is a book, and those who do not travel often only read one page. I've been incredibly lucky to travel to some really amazing places in my lifetime, and each one of them has touched my heart, but only one country really touched my soul, and it opened my eyes to a world I never thought existed. And so I'm here tonight to share with you what I saw and my experiences. This is the 21st century, I thought, as I tried to sift through people's reactions when I told them that I was traveling to Cuba. I heard phrases like, "Why do you want to visit those communist bastards, and what happens when you don't come back?" But when I got to Cuba, I found the whole world's got it wrong. The Cuban people are actually incredibly resilient, and they have been fighting all of their lifetimes for their freedom. And I'm not just talking about Castro and the Cold War. They have persevered through foreign-backed regimens and dictators. They've survived corruption, colonialization, and this is from Spain, from Britain, from the Soviet Union, from the United States, even the American mob. But I found that every single time they tried to separate the Cuban people, it actually brought them closer together. They value community, and they value connection. Every single day, these gentlemen gather in a plaza and they talk about sports, everything from the local domino game to the national baseball tournament being played across the island. It's Cuban ESPN. In the next plaza, I saw kids playing soccer. I saw people walking down the sidewalk, friends and family. I saw incredibly talented artists. I saw performance artists. And the whole area was lively, it was expressive, but it was very simple. And it was a simple life that I found myself craving in my everyday life here. One of my absolute most favorite places in Cuba is called the Malecón. And it was here that we met Jordi. He's a native Cuban, self-taught guitar player. He offered to show us around the island, and we said, "Well, how much do we have to pay you?" And he said, "Nothing, I just want to make new friends." And we didn't know it at the time, but actually Jordi could have been jailed for showing tourists around the island without a license. Everybody thinks that communism is lazy, that it's dependent, but Cubans are some of the most talented and hardworking people that I've ever met in my entire life. They're proud of their culture, they're proud of their heritage. They celebrate life every single day, they're happy. And on top of that, they find time to support their community. And one of the best examples that I saw of that was Miralendo. It's an art and community center in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Havana, but what it guarantees is that everybody can get free art lessons. On top of that, artists have a place to come, and they have a place to share their art and network. The project also brings revenue and other projects to the neighborhood, like this bus stop for an elderly lady. I found that basically because of the embargo, trade is cut off to Cuba, and they have to make everything that they need, and absolutely nothing is wasted. Their ingenuity and their creativity is beyond anything that I've ever seen. And we traveled to the sustainable farm outside of Havana to learn that it supported several towns and markets within Havana. I was astonished at the skills these people had learned. I found Havana's streets were buzzing with people. I saw old American cars, I saw old European cars, but unfortunately, Cuba is no stranger to poverty and struggle. But Cuba has not forced poverty and struggle to define them. And it's because of this outlook that I feel like they have a really bright future. I found that Cubans are able to own their own private businesses. Many of them have actually turned their homes into restaurants, and they serve their family recipes with the same pride and love that your family would serve you. They gave us the local spread of the baseball team. They taught us the fish from the Malecón. Cubans are selfless people. They have so little, but yet they're willing to give it all to you. I found that after decades of owning property within their family, they can now rent it out. When I was speaking to my tour guide, he said, "I just want to make as much as you." But when we sat down and actually talked about how much we made and the expenses that I paid, like a mortgage and interest, things he had never heard of, we found out we made about the same. Havana is actually going through complete restoration, and I found the government to be completely transparent about that. You walk through Havana and see signs that show improvement and projects. I talked with government officials, I spoke with attorneys, and while we were there, teachers actually successfully negotiated a pay raise with the government. I was surprised to see that in all of their restoration attempts, they're interested in preserving their heritage. And it's because of that they've actually been talking with UNESCO about designating more World Heritage Sites within Cuba, not only in Havana, but in Trinidad, a 500-year-old city. I was impressed by that. I thought that was really cool. And one of the most impactful figures that I met in Cuba was Miguel Cahoya. He's an architect and urban planner. Over 40 years, he's learned his trade through formal education and observation of the economy, of Cuban people, and the government. He speaks worldwide on economic development and foreign direct investment. He's a world-renowned professor at Havana, the University of Havana, and he has a great sense of humor. I also found out that Cubans have elections. They have a voice. They show up to their elections, and they're excited about their future. But if and only if it does not destroy the identity that they have worked so hard to cultivate. I was incredibly humbled by everything that I saw, and especially by my tour guide, Arturo. He's a very well-educated man. He's a great soccer player. He speaks 6 languages. And I was actually shocked to hear all the struggles that he's seen in his lifetime in Cuba. But yet, he loves Cuba. He wants to stay there. He's happy. I feel like Castro, his group promised a revolution, and they delivered. But perhaps they needed more time to form a government. There were Cold War tensions, and nobody wanted to repeat history. But the Cuban people have reflected. They see now what works and what doesn't work, and they're ready to push forward on a global scale, but with their identity. Every week, Cubans come and they wait at the airport, hoping that family will return. I took a great risk in taking this picture. It could have been espionage. I couldn't have come back. But I took this picture because I want you to see what walls do to people. So I'm here tonight because I wanted to show you Cuba. You've seen it now for your own eyes. And I'm asking you tonight to break down the wall. And I'm asking you to open your eyes and your heart and your mind to the Cubans. It's the least we can do after 59 years.